Chapter 1. The Boy Who Heard Too Much. Tiko wasn't a troublemaker. He found trouble. He tripped over it. He sometimes hugged it by accident when he thought it was a friendly baby dinosaur. But he did not make it. He lived in a cliffside village where mornings smelled like wet rock and dinner always involved something recently caught, cooked over fire, and definitely not identified. His daily routine was simple. 1. Fish, poorly. 2. Climb stuff, brilliantly. 3. Nap dramatically in the sun like he was auditioning to be a lizard. He was 10 years old, had 0 shoes, 5 calluses on each foot, and 1 extremely large imagination he blamed on too much air in the head. "I heard the river laugh today," he told his cousin Rumu while chewing on a roasted root. "You probably fell in again," Rumu replied, unimpressed. "Water laughs when you flail." "Fine," said Tiko, "but the fire definitely sang last night. I think it was a lullaby. Something about roasted mammoth toes." Rumu just threw a pebble at his forehead. The day the rocks got weird. It started with a rock. A very boring, very gray, very round rock that Tiko had stepped on every day while carrying water jugs. But today, it hummed. Not like hum, I'm a bee, but like hum. As if it had swallowed a choir and was trying to politely burp. Tiko froze, lifted his foot, stared at the rock. The rock, being a rock, said nothing. "Rude," Tiko muttered, and continued walking. But now he was listening, really listening. The wind whispered in rhythm. The moss made a squishy beatbox sound if you stepped just right. The baby pterodactyls were off-key, but clearly trying to start a band. By lunch, Tiko was convinced everything had a song, even his soup. It was a chunky stew that sang blub 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 every time he poked it with a stick. A Grammy-winning performance, honestly. The fire did what? He didn't even blink. "Shh, it's singing. It's going to singe your eyebrows," she muttered. Then the mountain answered. Later, curled in his hide blanket and snuggled against a squishy baby dinosaur for warmth, the baby dinosaur was not consulted. Tiko stared up at the stars. "Okay," he whispered, "if anyone else is hearing this stuff, let me know, just blink, or send a baby pterodactylus, or, I don't know, make the whole mountain hum." And then the whole mountain hummed, low, deep, like a sleeping giant clearing its throat. The baby dinosaur's ears flopped forward. The fire popped twice. Tiko sat straight up, eyes wide, heart thudding. "Oh no," he said, grinning. It answered. The mountain kept humming, just for him and only him. Chapter 2. The Song in the Bones. The Drumlight Festival was the one night a year where everyone was allowed to make as much noise as humanly and baby dinosaurly possible. Drums, sticks, shells, rocks, hollering children, and someone named Aunt Bee who always brought a fish and slapped it rhythmically against a tree stump like it owed her money. This was Tiko's favorite night, because for once, being loud was encouraged. He banged his homemade drum, crafted from a hollow log, a stretched piece of baby dinosaur skin, and a lot of optimism, with the subtlety of a thunderstorm riding a rhino. "Boom, boom, whackety boom, tone it down," yelled Rumu, plugging his ears. "I am toned down," Tiko yelled back. "This is my elegant whisper beat." Suddenly, his right foot started buzzing. Not in a "you stepped on a bee" kind of way. In a "the ground is tingling and this is probably magical or dangerous or both" kind of way. He looked down. Beneath his foot on the cave floor, a faint spiral had appeared glowing. "Oh no," he muttered happily. Rock beats and revelations. He tapped his drum again. Boom! The spiral pulsed. He shifted his weight. Whump! The spiral brightened. He stomped once, twice, 3 times, and the floor began to sing back. Not echoing, not humming, singing. Like the cave had been waiting its entire life for someone with terrible rhythm and a kind heart. "Drum-dum! Drum-dum!" A voice behind him gasped. It was Old Mother Joe. She dropped her fish. "The bones," she whispered. "He's found the song in the bones." Tiko blinked. "Is that good?" "No," she said. "Or yes, or, look, anything with glowing spirals is probably important." The wall lied. The stone wall next to Tiko let out a sound like a frog clearing its throat. Then it cracked. A jagged line split down the center, revealing a staircase leading deep into the mountain. A wind drifted out. It smelled like mystery, dust, and possibly cheese. Rumu stared. "We should tell someone," Tiko grinned. I am someone, no, I mean like a grown-up. Too late, Tiko said, stuffing a chunk of flatbread in his satchel. Destiny waits for no one, especially not when snacks are ready. He turned toward the stairs. The spiral pulsed again beneath his feet. Boom, and the wall opened wide. He took one step in, then another. From the shadows came a strange sound. Not drums, not wind, a voice, soft, echoing, calling his name. Tiko. He froze. Okay, he whispered. Now it's getting weird, and he smiled wider. Chapter 3, The City Beneath the Silence. The stairs went down, and down, and downer. Tiko was pretty sure he passed 2 confused lizards, a ghost moth, and what might have been a suspiciously judgmental bat. Don't look at me like that, he whispered to the bat. You ever fall into a glowing cave in your pajamas? Eventually, the staircase stopped. Not with a dramatic arch or a terrifying spike trap, he checked, but with a wooden sign that read, Welcome to Lyrica, please remove your shoes in existential dread. He blinked. Sounds friendly enough. And then he stepped into the city. A city made of songs and slight dust. Lyrica was unlike anything he'd ever seen or smelled. The streets were cobbled with stones that shimmered like frozen music. Bell towers curled like seashells. Bridges stretched across glowing pools, humming softly, as if remembering lullabies they weren't supposed to know. Everything was sleeping. Not dead. Not broken. Just waiting. Tiko walked slowly. A feather drifted down from nowhere. His drum let out a single thump without him touching it. I don't like how that just happened. Signs of weirdness also, very bossy vines. As he passed a vine-covered archway, one vine twitched. Not wiggled in the breeze. Twitched. It slithered down and gently tapped his drum. Bop! Tiko screamed a very unheroic scream, stumbled backward into a flower pot, which meowed, and dropped his satchel. The vine retracted slowly, like it had done its job and was clocking out for the day. Okay, Tiko breathed. Weird vine, singing rocks, sassy stare-bats, and I just got mugged by a plant. His drum pulsed again. 3 soft beats. Dum-dum-dum. He picked it up, and the cobblestone beneath his feet lit up in a spiral. Then, a bell rang, called by an echo. The sound echoed through Lyrica, clear, sharp, like it had been waiting 1,000 years for someone to just show up already. Tiko turned slowly. At the far end of the street, beneath a carved arch of sleeping bells and silent flutes, a shape moved. Not a person, not a monster, not exactly, just a shimmer. And then came a voice, not loud, not scary, just old, woven from echoes and soft as thunder. Guardian? Tiko blinked. Me? He whispered. Nah, must be another barefoot boy with bad hair and a glow drum. The voice came again. Guardian, and this time, the bells on the arch all rang at once. Chapter 4, The Echo Naming. Tiko stood in the middle of the echo chamber, sweating through his tunic and wondering, is it too late to go back to being just the village's second-best coconut juggler? The chamber was huge, circular, lined with spiral stones and echo holes, little openings carved into the walls, like musical ears waiting to gossip. Above, a carved condor spread its wings in the ceiling. In its beak, a flute. Because nothing says sacred tradition like a giant pterodactyl statue judging your every note, Tiko muttered. The scroll hovered beside him, fluttering smugly. Echo naming instructions, simplified for slow learners. 1. Play the condor song. 2. If Lyrica echoes your music back, you're in. 3. If not, we don't talk about that. Fantastic, Tiko whispered. Cave statue, audition of destiny. The ceremony begins, kind of. He took a breath. He raised his flute. He blew, squawk. It sounded like a goose choking on a harmonica. The scroll flinched. Okay, warm up. That was a warm up. Second try. Better, reedy, wobbly, but almost pterodactylus-like. He mimicked the call again, this time clearer, holding the last note like he meant it. The room held its breath. A moment passed. Then 2. Then, woo! The echo returned, but it was not his sound. It wasn't the condor call. It was a voice. A girl's voice. Tiko, it whispered. His knees turned into marmalade. A voice from the past. The chamber darkened. The carved condor blinked. Yes, blinked. Tiko spun around, flute clutched like a weapon. Who said that? I'm armed, musically. No response. But one of the echo holes began to glow. The scroll lit up too, stammering out half-sentences. Anomaly detected, memory trace, unauthorized echo. And then on the wall opposite him, a single name shimmered into view. Kima, Tiko whispered it aloud. The air shifted. Suddenly a spiral of golden mist formed beside him. Not solid, not fully there, but it looked like a girl, around his age, laughing eyes, wild hair. A flute slung across her back just like his. And then she was gone. Poof. Gone like a snack left unattended at a village feast. What just happened? The scroll slowly rotated to face him like a disappointed auntie. That was not normal. I noticed, Tiko squeaked. A new line burned itself into the floor. When echoes answer with memories, the past still sings, and beneath it a message only Tiko could see. Find her, before the collector does. Okay, he whispered, shaking slightly. That's fine. Mysterious flute ghost girl. Ancient echo prophecy. Magic pterodactylus chamber. I've seen weirder... Beat? Actually, no, I haven't. This takes the weird cake, with weird icing, served on a flute. Chapter 5, The Fire That Sang. Tiko wasn't sure how it started. 1 minute, he was poking a suspiciously glowy log with a stick. The next minute, the flame ice alive. The flame has opinions. The fire sang, not crackled, not hissed, sang. A haunting layered harmony like every lullaby his grandmother ever hummed. And also maybe a little bit of yodeling. The first flame, it wasn't just any fire, it was the first flame. The scroll confirmed it with its usual level of dramatic flair. First flame activated. Temperature, toasty. Mood mysterious. Prophetic status high. Tiko leaned in. He'd expected heat, maybe a sizzle. Instead, the fire projected glowing ribbons of sound into the air, tangible notes that fluttered like fireflies. They formed images. A vision in the flame. A shape emerged, not from smoke but from melody. A girl, not Kima. Older. Wearing the same robe Tiko had been given, well, his was technically child-sized with adjustable straps. She held a scroll, a flute, and something in her eyes, something ancient and tired in watching. Guardian of Flame, she said, her voice weaving into the fire's melody. Lyrica is not lost, but he listens again. Then the harmony shifted, the ribbons twisted into discord, the fire trembled, and the girl vanished in a single mournful note. He's listening again. Tiko stumbled back. Who's listening again? The scroll buzzed and began writing feverishly. Entry, Guardian Log 421. Subject, Luma, Guardian of the First Flame. Status, missing. Presumed echoed. Last message, he's listening again. Tiko whispered the name. Luma. The fire went dark. The cave rumbled. And somewhere, just barely audible beneath the shifting stone and retreating melody, a breath, not his. Final lines. The scroll flickered uncertainly before scrawling. When fire sings of shadows, light your name in the flame. Tiko stared into the darkness, clutching his flute like it might grow fangs and bite anything spooky. Cool, 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 he muttered. Haunted fire. Singing visions. Cryptic warnings. Definitely still better than family game night. Chapter 6. The Bone Tone Challenge. Tiko had never been good at games that involved coordination, strategy, or rules that weren't make as much noise as possible. So naturally, Bone Tone Toss was all three. What is Bone Tone Toss? Imagine bowling but with sacred carved bones. Now make the pins sacred drums. Now blindfold the players. And finally, force them to echolocate using rhythmic claps and the city's natural acoustics. No pressure, Tiko muttered as an elder tied a vine blindfold over his eyes. Just an ancient ceremonial challenge that determines whether I'm trustworthy or a walking bad idea. The challenge. 3 throws, 1 true stone up for grabs. Tiko stepped up to the line, clutching a curved bone carved with spiral notes. Feel the echo, said Elder Mavo. Here with your bones, added Elder Kini. Don't break anything sacred, mumbled someone in the back. Throw 1. Tiko inhaled, clapped twice. The echo bounced weird. It came back, giggling. He tossed the bone in what he assumed was a dignified arc. Result, hit a snack table, Knocked over ceremonial dip. Comment from Elder, well, that was crunchy. Throw 2. This time he tuned out the noise. Clapped in a new pattern. Soft tap, double beat, stomp. The echo returned clean and sharp. Toss. Result, brush the edge of a truth drum. A polite boop sound. Comment from Elder, acceptable. If slightly boopish, final throw, the rhythm remembers. Something changed. A memory, no, a feeling, rose in Tiko's chest. A rhythm, a heartbeat. He didn't know where it came from until he realized. It was the same rhythm the guardian girl used in the vision. The fire, the melody, the call. He clapped the rhythm. Echoes returned in harmony. He threw the bone. The drum shatters. The moment the bone struck the largest drum, it didn't echo. It resonated. The sound swelled, twisted, cracked the air like a thunderclap, and the sacred drum shattered. Silence. Then, well, said Elder Mavo, brushing off bone dust. That's never happened before. The truth stone speaks. From the broken drum's base, something tumbled out, a glowing truth stone. Tiko reached out. Wait, Luma didn't leave on her own? No. And he's still waiting. A nearby echo drum began to thump on its own. Distant. Far beneath the city. In a rhythm only Tiko seemed to recognize. He whispered, he heard me. Final line. The scroll scribbled. The bone tells the truth, even when it breaks the rules. Chapter 7. The festival that forgot to dance. Lyricra was buzzing. Literally. It was the festival of rhythm, the time when bells danced before people did, when drums rolled out breakfast, and even the pigeons wore anklets. Tiko? He wore 3 different kinds of bangles and a drum strapped to his back like a backpack with opinions. This is it, he grinned. My moment, the day I go from K-boy to beat boy. Spoiler, that did not happen. Festival fizzles. As soon as the opening ceremony began, something was off. A flute squeaked mid-harmony. The echo lanterns coughed instead of chimed. A dancer's shoes made the sound of wet socks. The city, normally a joyful orchestra of bouncing noise, was grumpy. Why won't anything boogie? Tiko cried, banging his drum harder. Nothing helped. Even the vines looked bored. Elder weirdness. Elder Keeney frowned at a rhythm scroll. This festival feels backwards. Tiko raised an eyebrow. Like retro? No. Like something is pulling the rhythm away. He looked around. Something tugged at his chest like a dance partner who suddenly let go. The echo lanterns flicker. One by one, the floating echo lanterns began to sputter. That one just coughed, said Tiko. That one just sneezed, added Elder Mavo. That one just said help, whispered a terrified vine. The sky dimmed, not with clouds but silence. The humming crack. Tiko, chasing a runaway rhythm, tripped over his own foot, left foot, always the rebel, and rolled down a small hill near the cracked bell courtyard. He landed face first against a new crack in the stone floor. Ow! Hello! It pulsed faintly, a slow hum. But not like before. This time the hum was in reverse. Like a song sucked back into a mouth that regretted singing it. He pressed his ear to the stone. The sound made his molars itch. The echo was unhappening. Tiko stood slowly, heart pounding. Something's undoing the rhythm. From behind the crack, the faint glow brightened. Then, a single reverse chime. Tiko stumbled back. That's not a beat, that's a trapdoor. The scroll in his pocket flared. Beware the rhythm that dances backward. Final line. Okay, Tiko gulped. Time to find out what forgot to dance. Chapter 8, The Collector's Footprint. Tiko hated 2 things. 1. Quiet. 2. Dramatic ancient warnings right before bedtime. Tonight he got both. Returned to the cracked bell chamber. The cracked bell chamber had always felt dramatic. Like it was auditioning for a horror play called Doom but in echoes. But now, it felt listened to. The bells, though cracked, were humming. Barely. Like they were trying to warn someone with stage fright. Tiko tiptoed inside. His scroll blinked with one line. Where echoes are stolen, the collector returns. Cool, 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 whispered Tiko. So we're doing that today, the shadow listening. Near the back wall where the dust curled unnaturally, something stirred. Not moved. Stirred, like soup, but evil. Tiko held up his lantern. Hello, he said to the darkness. No offense, but I hope you're just a very tall raccoon? Something stepped forward. It wasn't a raccoon, it was nothing. A figure without color, without face, just listening. Its cloak shimmered like silence. Its shape shifted like a forgotten lullaby. It turned its head slowly to face Tiko. No eyes, just attention, flash of memory. Tiko gasped. He saw it, the same figure, etched on a stone in the underground city murals. A warning, a legend, a bedtime story for guardians. The collector, the one who steals echoes, who swallows lullabies, who listens and never forgets. But I thought you were just a myth, Tiko muttered. The shadow tilted its head, almost amused the vanishing. Suddenly the cracked bells rattled. Tiko blinked and the collector was gone. Just a gust of wind remained. And one footprint, burned into the stone, a spiral made of ash. His scroll quivered and added a new message. Some echoes are hunted, some must be hidden. Ending. Tiko stood alone in the echoing silence, one cracked bell swinging softly. And then, a whisper. You hear too much, little guardian? Tiko turned. But the voice wasn't behind him. It was inside the bell. Chapter 9, The Whispering Jar. Tiko had a talent for finding the worst possible thing at the worst possible time. Which, if you think about it, is also a kind of talent. Beneath the bones. The scroll buzzed like a nervous cricket. Tiko followed its glow down a staircase he'd never seen before. Carved into the roots of Lyrica's oldest tree, the echo elm, rumored to have once whispered jokes to passing owls. Down, 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 until the stairs stopped in front of a pedestal made of silence. Yes, silence. Not stone, not wood. Silence. And on top of it sat a jar. Not just any jar, this one pulsed. It shimmered with trapped notes, tiny glowing music bouncing inside like panicked fireflies at karaoke night. A label was etched on the lid in the spiraled script of the Guardians. Do not open unless absolutely positively musically doomed. Tiko blinked. Well, define doomed. The jar that whispered. He leaned in. The jar whispered. Really whispered. It sang unfinished lullabies, danced in broken beats, giggled in forgotten riddles. Someone long ago had poured their memories into this thing like a sonic soup. Tiko's scroll flashed a warning. Unfinished songs are hungry. He looked at the lid. He looked at the glowing echoes. He looked at the invisible camera he was sure was watching from the fourth wall. This is a terrible idea, he said. And then, because he's Tiko, he opened it. The silence rushes in. Whoosh! Sound didn't pour out. Silence poured in. A cold, greedy hush sucked the warmth from the chamber. Tiko stumbled back as the jar tipped, its notes screaming silently as they were swallowed by nothingness. Above him, the city shivered. Bridges forgot their tunes. The flame in the singing lantern fizzled. Even the vines in the Garden of Names dropped their blossoms like the end of a bad musical. Tiko grabbed the jar, but it was too late. The scroll in his pocket burned with a single line. The city forgets. Tiko bolted up the stairs, jar in hand, heart pounding like a broken drum. But when he reached the surface, a name was missing from the fountain. Micah. Gone. Erased. Forgotten. Oh no, Tiko breathed. What have I unjazzed? The whispering jar buzzed again, but this time, it didn't whisper. Chapter 10, The Dance of the Broken Bells. Tiko had 2 left feet, and a blister on both, which is impressive considering he rarely wore shoes. When bells forget, the city had gone weird. Not scary weird, not funny weird, quiet weird. The kind of quiet that made you check your ears. Lyrica's bridges no longer hummed. The memory flowers stayed shut, and every bell, every last cracked, bent, beloved bell, hung limp and silent. Even the mischief lizards had stopped tap dancing on rooftops. Tiko knew because he'd tried to train one to do the worm. It refused. He sighed. I broke the city with a jar. I've hit peak oops, Nani's rhythm trick. He sat cross-legged on the cobblestone stage in the plaza, staring at the silent lantern. I don't know how to fix this, he grumbled. I can barely fix my own hair. But somewhere in his memory, his grandmother's voice poked through like a determined dandelion. When the world forgets, you dance it back, even if you've got the rhythm of a limping baby dinosaur. He stood and started tapping his feet. The dance begins. He mixed old Guardian moves from the mural scroll's wavy arms, dramatic eyebrow angles with his own. The oops I fell again spin. The hot sand hop. The why is my ankle popping shuffle. He added beats by clapping his knees and belly. He twirled. He tripped. He nearly face-planted. But the bells? They giggled. A little chime. Then another. Then a ding-dong bloop from a temple he didn't even know had a bell. Music stirred in the stones. The vines lifted their heads. A baby flute giggled. And one by one, Lyrica began to remember. Twist, the bell that rang backwards. He ended his routine with a double-stomp dramatic bow and an unexpected sneeze. The city applauded. At least it would have if vines could clap. Ding! It wasn't from a lyric or bell. It wasn't even from this side of reality. The tone moved backward, like someone hit rewind on time itself. Tiko turned slowly toward the bell chamber. There in the shadows, a bell spun counterclockwise, and behind it something blinked into existence. A staircase, made of mirrors, leading somewhere else. Tiko held his breath. The scroll trembled in his pocket. Well, he said, wobbling on sore feet, either that's where the answer is, or it's a horrible trap disguised as a shiny mystery. He took a step. The bell rang again, backwards. Chapter 11, The Mirror Staircase. Tiko had done some questionable things in life. He once tried to eat a cactus popsicle. He once shaved his eyebrow to see if it'd grow back happier. And now, he was stepping into a staircase made entirely of mirrors, because the backwards bell told him to. 10/10 would regret again. Down we go. The first step sounded like a whisper. The second like his own voice, laughing from a memory he didn't remember. With each step, a new sound echoed. And his grandmother humming. A waterfall he used to fish under. And a stranger calling his name in the wind. Except the sounds weren't playing. They were watching. From the mirrors, his reflection was everywhere, but not doing what he was doing. One version of him danced. Another one wept. One waved. One had no eyes. He swallowed hard. Okay, totally normal haunted staircase stuff. The chamber of not you. The staircase emptied into a circular room. Everything was mirrored. The walls, the ceiling, the floor. Even the torches floated in midair, reflecting infinitely like flaming jelly beans. Tiko stood in the middle. Where's the villain? Where's the dramatic echo? A voice answered, right behind you. He turned. Nothing. Turned again, still nothing. Turned one more time and bam, he walked right into himself. Or a version of himself. The echo that walked. The reflection stepped out of the mirror like a drop of ink leaving glass. It looked like him. Same hair, same smirk. Except it didn't blink. And it didn't breathe. You're not me, Tiko whispered. I'm what's left when you forget who you are, it said. I'm your silence, and I'm better at dancing. Memory versus silence. The sound duel. Suddenly, the mirror room rippled like heat on stone. Tiko's scroll zipped out of his pocket and flared to life. A single word pulsed. Remember. The reflection pulled out its own flute. The duel began. So did Tiko. They didn't fight with fists. They fought with music. Call and response. Tiko played his first lullaby. The reflection countered with a distorted version. He echoed his grandmother's beat. The reflection twisted it into a sad dirge. But when he played the rhythm of the vanished guardian, the one who came before him, the reflection screamed and shattered into bells. The exit, sort of. The bells fell around him, silent and glowing. Then a door appeared. Not in the wall, in the ceiling. Of course, Tiko muttered, because gravity is optional now. He climbed the mirrored vines growing upward. At the top, a sliver of night sky, a breeze of real wind, and the scroll glowing with one last note. Tiko hoisted himself through the door. He stood on a mountaintop above Lyrica. But the sky had no stars, just cracks, like glass ready to break. And in the silence above he heard a heartbeat, but not his own. Chapter 12, The Song You Cannot Hear. Tiko woke up with a mouthful of silence. He tried to say ow, but it came out as nothing, no voice, no sound, just breath and panic. Okay, he whispered, or tried to. Very funny, universe. Classic prank. He slapped his cheek, snapped his fingers, clapped his hands. Nothing. Even his tummy refused to rumble in protest. The return of the collector. The scroll shuddered in his satchel and opened on its own. The words shimmered with dread. He's returned, but he doesn't need to steal. Not anymore. The song is fading on its own. Tiko aggressively stumbled through Lyrica. The bells wouldn't ring. The fountains didn't gurgle. The city was muffled like someone had wrapped it in a pillow and told it to hush forever. And then he saw him. The collector. Larger now, cloaked in darker silence. Trails of stolen notes floated around him like ghosts of music past. Tiko tried to scream at him. Nothing. The scroll pulsed with frantic light and displayed an old, forgotten symbol. The unvoiced instrument. Tiko remembered the crack in the mountain, the one shaped like a spiral scream. He climbed. Inside the cave he found it, a flute carved from stone, its mouthpiece chipped, its notes rough as gravel. It didn't look like much. It felt like everything. He blew into it. The sound wasn't beautiful, but it was rhythm, jagged, honest, unapologetic. The silence twitched. The duet twist. Tiko played. The collector recoiled. He played again. The collector stumbled, but didn't fall. Tiko's fingers moved faster, but the stone flute pushed back, its notes beginning to fight him. He collapsed to his knees. The scroll whispered, "You were never meant to do this alone." From behind, a second sound. Gentle, hesitant, then strong. A second player. Mira, the vanished guardian girl, the one from the fire. She stepped forward, holding a flute carved of shell and flame, not perfectly, not polished, but together. And for the first time, the silence flinched. The collector raised his arms, his form wavered, his cloak began to unravel, like a song that couldn't hold its tune. But before he vanished, he roared, not with voice, but with a stolen melody. And that melody? Tiko recognized it. It was his. Chapter 13, The Guardian Before Me. Tiko stood in the silence after the duet, heart pounding like a drum that had too much coffee. The collector had vanished. Maybe. The city was still quiet, too quiet. And his stone flute? It exploded into glitter. Okay, maybe not glitter, but there were sparkles. Tiko would argue this point in court if needed. The scroll flared. Guardian memory unlocked. Echo type. Relic of probably major importance. Proceed with medium caution and maximum snacks. The memory spiral. A swirl of music unfolded from the cracked bell's chamber. Tiko followed it like a sleep-deprived moth chasing the world's last flashlight. In the center, a memory spiral glowing faintly. He touched it, and the chamber melted around him. Suddenly, he was standing in the past, or at least a holographic, echoey version of it. Before him stood her, the guardian girl from the flame, braids like threads of song, eyes like thunder trying not to cry. The last note, "I'm Mira," she said softly, voice tinged with the wind of 1,000 monsoons. "You're not supposed to be here yet, but since the city is unraveling like a cheap sweater, surprise?" She walked toward him. "The song isn't complete," she said. "You've played well, but it's missing the last note." Tiko blinked. "Where is it?" Mira laughed. "It echoed, backwards. That's the trick. The last note is not a sound. It's a choice." Tiko opened his mouth to say something witty, but all that came out was, "Wait, what?" The warning. Mira's image began to flicker. She stepped close, her hand brushed his shoulder like a breeze remembering how to dance. "If you fail," she whispered, "even your name will be forgotten." The scroll snapped shut. The chamber vanished. Tiko stood alone, one sleeve missing again. He really had to start tying those things on. And there, at his feet, a new spiral. Black, unmoving, waiting. And from deep within it, a single note. Wrong, off key. Calling his name, but not quite right. Tiko? Tiko squinted. "Okay, that's definitely not how you say my name." Chapter 14, A Flame That Will Not Go Quiet. The Echo Dome was not supposed to exist. Tiko had only heard whispers about it, mostly from baby dinosaurs who weren't great at keeping secrets. But here it was, a massive glowing cavern of sound. Oh, and in the middle, the collector, wider, taller, shadowier. His cloak, now stitched from stolen voices and poorly timed dramatic pauses, beat the silence. The scroll flared. Final song initiated. "Good luck, try not to explode." Tiko raised his hands, then realized he didn't have a flute, or a bell, or a kazoo, just himself. And maybe that was enough. He planted his feet, breathed, tapped his chest, boom, drum. He slapped his thighs, snapped his fingers, stomped a rhythm he didn't know he knew. The dome began to hum with him. The bone beat returns. From his satchel, the truth stone from chapter 6 rolled out on its own. It pulsed, matched his rhythm. And then, so did his bones. Not metaphorically. His literal bones began to echo. Yes, it tickled. Yes, he almost giggled mid-battle. With every stomp, his spine answered back. With every clap, his ribs sang like chimes. He spun. He leapt. He danced like he stubbed a toe on purpose. The collector raised his hand, and Tiko screamed, "This flame doesn't whisper, it sings, baby!" Split and run. The collector shattered, not with a bang, but with a note. One clear, piercing note that cracked the dome like a candy shell. He split into 1,000 shadow figures. Some shrieked, some wept, some tried to hum but got the pitch all wrong. Most fizzled into mist, but one slithered up the side of the dome. Silent, fast. Gone. Tiko dropped to one knee, panting. The dome stilled. The scroll gently wrote, final verse delayed, one note unfinished. Tiko looked up toward the exit. I guess we're not done yet. Chapter 15, the new name carved in sound. Lyrica pulsed with joy, not like a heartbeat. More like a badly tuned band made of waterfalls, giggling vines, clanging bells, and a city-sized kazoo. In other words, perfect. The great echo bash, the people danced. The bells spun like tops. Someone, possibly Tiko, started a food fight using fermented mango dumplings. Even the ancient mural of the first guardian winked. Or blinked. It was hard to tell under all the sparkle confetti. Tiko spun in the middle of it all, arms wide, face massy with sweet paste and pride. This, he said, is my kind of quiet. The Wall of Guardians. Near the heart of Lyrica, the guardian wall stood tall, each name carved in rhythm, not etched with tools, but sung, echoed in harmony. Tiko stepped up, scroll in hand. He whispered his name. Tiko of the too much hearing, and the wall sang it back. Tiko, the letters glowed. They shimmered. Then a fart sound slipped out from one of the vines nearby. Everyone froze. Tiko turned red. Okay, but a heroic fart, right? The hidden jar. Later that night, when no one was watching, Tiko crept down a quiet tunnel, past the Garden of Names, beneath the bell chamber, into a nook where even echoes felt sleepy. He knelt, pulled a small clay jar from his satchel. Inside, a sliver of a song, a piece of his laugh, a whisper from the collector, a rhythm only he ever danced. He placed it under a loose stone, and whispered, for the next one who hears too much. The stone glowed, then settled. Back in his cave, curled beneath furs and feathers, Tiko watched the stars blink like sleepy fireflies. The scroll unrolled one last time, and wrote, the silence is not the end of music, it's the pause. Before someone brave enough begins again, Tiko grinned. And may they have rhythm. He fell asleep humming. The city of Lyrica did too, but not in silence, and promised the end. Until the next sound wakes up. Coming soon, Lyrica, the flame in her song. In a city where music once bloomed like jasmine on the wind, silence has taken root. But when a curious girl named Anaya finds a glowing scroll beneath her grandmother's saris, a forgotten melody stirs deep inside her. Guided by humming vines, bell blossom lights, and the echo of a boy named Micah, Anaya descends into the city below, where rhythm remembers, names matter, and every whisper could wake a sleeping world. Because the next guardian isn't chosen. She hears her name in the song.